final segment of the show for today. We're talking to JWilliams, the president of Fisk University, who's given us some information in reference to his background, education, and the coming to Fisk University and some of the challenges. And now we'd like to talk about some of the challenges and some of the opportunities over the last segment of this show. And let's start off by simply talking about what you consider to be the major challenges that you have to face, and then to talk about some of the opportunities, or vice versa if you so desire, you know.
Well, let's start with the challenges. First of all, we have a lot of challenges, not just as a university, but as an industry. The institutions of higher education in this country have a lot of work to do. And we have a lot of work to do because we know that if we're going to be the kind of society that we've always been, if we're going to lead the world in technology and innovation and the whole 9 yards, we have to have an educated citizenry. And we can't do that except and unless we focus on making sure that our young folks are taken care of. I mean, you hear this all the time about it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it really does. And it takes a village, quite frankly, for a university to flourish. But not as an end in itself, but rather as a means to an end. And that means to an end is to make sure that the students are equipped to adapt to the changes in the world as time moves forward. And so I'm really excited that here in Tennessee, folks are focused on what do we need to do for K through 12 education so that when students get to higher education, they are prepared. We have to be a part of that. And so one of the challenges is just making sure that we can cater, if you will, to the new group of students who have different orientations, who have different expectations, who have different, quite frankly, abilities and practices in focusing, or maybe not focusing, you know, doing a myriad things all at one time. Those are some of the challenges that we have as an industry. We have to figure out how to control the cost of higher education. But at Fisk in particular, we have some challenges. Right now, the biggest challenge we have is accreditation. And not because of our academic programs, but because of our financial issues. And quite frankly, that's one of the reasons I'm here. Because I know that in order for us to protect the brand, which is academic excellence for Fisk, we have to get our financial house in order. And so I've had to do some tough things, but those are some of the challenges that we have to face. Getting that probationary status eradicated so that we are fully and unqualifiedly accredited again makes all the difference in the world. And we're working to get that done, and we will get that done. There's no doubt about it. Good. So that's the biggest challenge. But the underneath challenge is making sure we get our financial house in order, and we're working on that as well.
Very good. And of course, some of the opportunities that you see in reference to Fisk University. And I think we had an opportunity to evaluate a large number of institutions in terms of the history curriculum. And I think as a historian, you are familiar with that. And I think we looked at 50 universities of higher education and talked about their history curriculum. And starting with, I think, Harvard University and ending with Fisk University as the only historical African-American institution, black institution that's found within this study. And we found that while Harvard was able to offer more than 50 courses in History 201, the first part of history and second part of history, and the other institutions between Harvard and Fisk offered a descending number of programs. And when we got to Fisk, we found out that Fisk offered two very creative kind of programs, which in the end, if they had the correct professors and whatnot dealing with those programs, could, in a real sense, mask and cover as much information as Harvard offered in its programs. I think you've got creative writing, creative thought, and all of those things that are involved, which means that if you've got good instructors, then you've got as much as they have with the larger institutions. And the only difference between Harvard and Fisk is, number one, the resources and manpower. And so I think that Fisk still stands well in spite of what people might say in reference to Fisk, and that the only thing you need is what? Resources and more manpower, resources and teachers. And I think that you're working in reference to doing that. Speak to that.
Well, absolutely.